Hello there, welcome back to Prime Morning, and it's time for BTH. Today's a special edition, as we promised that we're going to sit down with the Honourable Member of Parliament representing the North Tongu constituency, Honourable Okudzeto Ablakwa. North Tongu's darling, good morning.
Good morning. Good to see you.
Good to see you too. It's been a while. You've been that busy.
That's true.
Welcome to our studio.
But been watching you. You're doing a great job.
Thank you so much. You're doing a great job. I mean, on the other side, very good job. How have you been?
I'm well by the grace of God. Let me say good morning to all our distinguished viewers and to thank you and your production team for inviting me to have a sit down with you this morning.
Great.
Always a pleasure to be here.
Great that you made it here. As of, I'd say, an hour ago, what have you been up to as a member of Parliament?
An hour ago, I was negotiating with my boss.
Really? Over what?
My boss, my dear wife. You know, she retweeted my donation to National Service personnel yesterday and asked a question if I had sought approval from the board chairman. Because honestly, we didn't discuss it. So when she saw in the news that I donated my 2-month salary, I'm sure she was wondering what will happen to domestic finance. I
mean, now that the board chair herself has spoken about it, let's talk about it.
So I told her that I was hoping to come for post-ratification. Because, and I know that her legendary compassion will always make it impossible for her to deny my application.
Okay, so let's see if this will make her happy, and maybe. So we've got two people that you have been very, very helpful to. This is just a surprise. We know this, we didn't tell you. But we've got Elham Shahadu, medical student, if you remember the name, and then Isaac Segbe has also completed KNUST. They're on the line. Hi. So they joined us via Zoom. Hi. Good morning.
Good morning.
Great. So let me speak to Isaac first. Isaac, how long ago did you finish KNUST?
Yes. Please come again.
How long ago did you finish KNUST?
Okay, I just completed recently. So I graduated in 2021.
Okay. So tell us about how you met Honorable and your relationship with him.
Oh, okay. So it was in 2016 that I completed my SHS at Sogakupe Senior High School. And then I didn't have funds to continue that year. So I had to look for some job and then also be looking for other avenues for funds to continue my education. And within that process, I got a job at Musa Muhammad Farms Limited in Afeyime. Apparently, that investor was brought them back. And then during that period, one fateful day, I met Togbi Sakwiti, who is a very close person to Honorable Okudzeto Ablakwa. And then I explained to him my situation and stuff, and then he relayed it to Honorable. And when Honorable got to hear of my situation, he was very glad and said that he would help to make me continue my education and to achieve what I want to do in life.
Wow.
Okay, so that's how I got it. And then he actually said he would sponsor me by providing me funds to pay my academic fees and then whatever help I need also in other matters. So that is a great help he has done for me.
Okay.
So that's my relationship.
Okay, we're glad that you're sharing your story with us. But how did your grades look? Is he happy with your grades? Do you think you made him proud?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Actually, I graduated with a first class honors from KNUST.
Wow.
I did telecommunication engineering, and I'm currently serving as a teaching assistant at the telecom department.
Impressive. Honorable is here clapping and applauding. It's clapping and applauding for you. Congratulations, and I'm glad that you got that help from him. Let's go to Elham, who is a medical student. Hi, Shahadu. Hi, Shahadu. We're sorry our network is breaking, but let's see if we can connect with Shahadu. Hi, Shahadu. Okay. if we're able to connect, well, so she's a medical. Do you remember these names and the faces? You must be overwhelmed.
Now I do. When I saw the face, I was able to put the story in perspective. Yes, Togbi Sapiti, who was then our youth organizer, constituency youth organizer, brought him to my attention.
Okay.
Yes, and we do run a very vibrant scholarship scheme because education is one of my priorities as MP. And currently, as we speak, there are at least 65 students in universities on the scholarship scheme. And so he clearly is one of them. And they are doing very, very well. One of my favorite students currently is Alice Jiwonu, who is at KNUST. She's going to be our first female aeronautical engineer. And
wow.
Amazing lady. She's top of her class. She's doing very well. This is a young lady born in Japan. Unfortunately, when I think her mom was about 2 months pregnant, she lost her husband. And the mom is a single parent who is just, managing by the day, really, a charcoal seller. But the girl is so brilliant. She topped the entire district, topped the entire Volta region, the BEC, the WASI as well. She was the best performing student. So once again, it shows that ladies can do whatever men think they can do. She's in a male-dominated program at KNUST. Yes. I think she says there are only 7 ladies or so in the entire class, and she's doing very well. So stories like that, and it's always, a joy. And some of them have graduated, and we have family now. There's Edem as well, who's now a medical doctor, doing very well at Konfanochi, teaching hospital as a practicing doctor. So
guess who's on the line again?
This is fulfilling, really fulfilling.
Great. You're not even done yet. But guess who's on the line as well? Togbi Sakwiti is also on.
Oh.
Hi. Hi, Togbi. Good morning. I'm sorry. Our network is failing us today, but we'll bring... Okay, hi, Togbi. Hi, Togbi. Please unmute. Hi. Kindly unmute if you can hear me.
I wonder how you found all this. My North Tongue.
Togbi Sakwiti, if you can hear me, kindly unmute before honorable gets to know our secret. Kindly unmute your device. Okay, so whilst we get him to unmute, what has been motivating you to do all of these things? I mean, it's difficult when you're talking to a politician because it's difficult to get to the core of why they're doing this. But what really is motivating you?
It's really the inner fulfillment I get to see people progress, to see joy on the faces of people. And I always remind people of my contest when I first showed up in North Town to contest for...
Oh no, but kindly give me a minute. Let me go back to Togbi. Hi, Togbi. Oh, I'm so sorry. I desperately want to talk to him because he's a great guy. I mean, I see him at under my dad's mango tree, always talking to people. So I will try and then get to connect to him and speak to him as well. But back to the inner fulfillment issue.
Yes, when I went back to North Town to contest, this must have been in 2011. The primaries was early 2012. We were 7, and you had a lot of illustrious, very well experienced, North Tongue citizens. The great Kwame Alovi of Nagrat fame, Mr. Ele Blue, the very well, distinguished chartered accountant who had served at the BOG, was at the Ministry of Health. You had Mr. Gakpe of Roads and Highways, very well-known, well-established people. I was the youngest, and having schooled in Accra, association, Presec, Legon, so I was quite, detached of some sort from the people, unless when I go visit my grandma, who always insisted that we should come back home during vacations. So I really adore my people for taking that risk. They could have said that, look, these are very well established people. We know them very well. These are our uncles, elderly people, very well accomplished. And so we would go with safe pair of hands. We are not going to try the youth who, and that was really my first election, in the constituency. Even though I had been Deputy Minister for Information, I had served on the campaign team of Professor Mills, God bless his soul. But in terms of constituency politics, that was my first elections, first appearance.
Give me a minute
again.
And they
took that risk in me. So
I apologize. Just the network.
Okay.
Hi, Thugbi.
Hi, good morning.
Good morning. It's good to see you via Zoom this morning.
Good to see you too.
Right.
Good morning, Honorable.
Good morning, Thugbi.
So we managed to smoke your Honorable into the studio this morning, and we just been wanting to ask you, what's your relationship like, and how is he doing in the constituency?
Good morning once again. I want to greet your viewers this morning. Honorable Okudzeto is more or less a godsend to the people of North Tongu. My working relationship with him has been very, very successful. And I can authoritatively say Honorable Okudzeto was sent to the people of North Tongu to rescue us. A lot of the youths who passed through me and got in touch to Honorable were successful in their education. Some of them are even doing their scholarship outside too. There are a whole lot of things that he has done that I know, but he cannot recollect all those things that I do, all those.
Please tell us some of them. Please share with us some of the things he's done.
As I'm speaking to you now, my own brother's son,
right,
is having masters in public health.
Okay.
Which Honorable also support him, but he doesn't know that's my own brother's son.
Really?
Interesting.
There are a lot of instances where people will be admitted at the hospital, they cannot pay their hospital bills. Some people wanted to do businesses that they don't have the capital to start. A lot of women in North Tongu passes through my hand, and I got in touch with Honorable, and he helped them. Some of them, he said, oh, he doesn't want to even say anything about it. But me, that the people always come to me, I always get all those records down for the future sake.
Okay.
If somebody said, oh, who has not been doing this, I always point out to him that this person you have the family member before, this person has the family member before.
Right.
So I am very happy today. This young man, Isaac.
Yes, Isaac. Yeah.
Any time that I remember his name, I feel very proud. And there are a lot of them. Currently, there is a certain student in University of Ghana, Lagos, who is in his last year, who is having a very difficult time. He cannot even raise his school fees. He tried, he got admission 3 times. He was not admitted because he cannot pay his school fees. And I follow on Honorable. Currently, the guy is in the last year now. He's going to write his final exams. So there are a lot of them that Honorable has even helped. There are more than 65 that he said. That on record, the only record that he has. But I am the one who has been processing the whole the scholarship scheme. I'm the one in charge. So I know a lot of students that he has helped before. Some of them that he gave his personal money to them from his own pocket. Sometimes he had to write a check, his own check, and give to them to go and pay their school fees. So there are a lot of things. Or if you want to celebrate him on TV, on radio, I think the whole day will not be enough.
Thank you, actually. It would not be enough. But thank you for taking time to speak to us, okay? I would let you go and then we'll come back into the studio. Thank you so much, Isaac. You can also go on with your work since you're a teaching assistant. Today is a working day, so you can go back. Thank you for sharing your story with us. Honorable, back into the studio. You're telling me, sure. You're telling me how you had to really contest against these, I'd like to describe them as giants, and for a young man, and how the people accepted you. During that period, how did you feel? Did you think that it was going to work?
Yes, I always believed that our message was very poignant, our vision was clear, and that the people will really come along and that our campaign strategy will yield the results. However, there was always a certain part of you that, you know, you don't go into elections complacent. Before this election, I had been NUC's president, you know, I'd contested for other elections. I was very active in student politics, you know, so I know how, you know, delegates and elections can sometimes be, you know, tougher than you expect. So there's always that part of you that makes things a bit doubtful. You wonder if everything will go according to plan. But I must commend, you know, the good people of North Tongu, the chiefs, the Queen Mothers, the youth. They rallied behind me. Our campaign team was very dedicated, and I've kept them together up until this point. And you'll observe that probably we are one of few constituencies where our vote is always going up.
True.
You know, normally when you stay for a while, this is my third term, you see that your votes begin to dwindle. That is the normal
That happened
curve.
in Central Tongu.
That's the normal curve, yes. But in my case, you see that the votes are going up. And indeed, in the last elections, we set a record. We had the whole country, we had the widest margin of victory. If you check the Electoral Commission's data.
So you say now you're settled in the constituency?
Yeah, yes. I mean, even yesterday, right after parliamentary sitting, I rushed there. I went there with a group of investors. We are starting a cassava starch factory. And Togbi Sakbiti has been very generous. He and his colleague chiefs have donated large tracts of land, almost 5,000 acres of land, which we are going to cultivate. My next agenda really is to empower the youth. Because if you read Kwame Nkrumah's 7-year development plan, our constituency was integral in there. We're supposed to be the breadbasket, that whole enclave for Ghana and for West Africa. Because we have the Volta River, so irrigation is not a challenge. All the soil tests that are conducted, we have the best soil for agriculture in the country. So everything does well. You have Musa Hamad Farms, a banana plantation by the Kuwaitis doing very well. You have VegPro, an Indian vegetable production, you know, farm doing very well. You have Radical Farms from India. You have Sinostone, which is also
all this happening in the constituency.
Yes, and they are doing very well. So I want to expand, have more agricultural, you know, activity, the entire agribusiness chain. We want to invest in it. And that is why not too long ago, I purchased a combined harvester for my rice farmers. If you look at our country, I mean, we are spending over $500 million importing rice annually. We can cut this down. Look, we can be self-sufficient in rice production. Between North Tongu, South Tongu, the Sugakofa area, Central Tongu, Akachi, Ketu North, that enclave, I mean, we have the capacity to produce rice and even export the leftover. We do not have to put the pressure that we put on the currency. The economic challenges we are going through now are structural. It reveals a certain, you know, structural misalignment with the economy. And that is why you only see short-term reliefs, but it always comes back. So it's a boom and bust, boom and bust. We have not been able to put together a strategic vision to transform our country because we are not adding value. We are not changing, you know, the structure of this economy. We are not empowering locals so that we can produce what we eat what we produce, and have that, you know, muscle to be a giant in the sub-region. We are virtually, you know, importing everything what we have the capacity here to do. I mean, if you take Japan Textiles, which is also in my constituency, they are currently operating below 30% capacity. I have always asked myself, why is it that companies like Japan Textiles, like Akosombo Textiles, that is just next door in Esojaman, they are my good neighbors, and a few of these textile industries, why is it that we should be importing uniforms from China for our security agencies, immigration, armed forces, police, school kids? Why are we importing these uniforms?
Why do you think so?
When we have these local textile industries, that we can give these contracts to. When I was at the Ministry of Education, we started this free shoe distribution program, the free sandals program, and we empowered and actually revived the Kumasi Shoe Factory. Okay. And they were the sole suppliers. Now Kumasi Shoe Factory is virtually collapsed again because they don't have any contracts. The boots of our security services, imagine if they have that contract. You know, so we have that capacity. Look, if you see how even modern green farming, there are some Dutch investors in my constituency doing this greenhouse farming, and how well it is doing. I mean, this is a country that God has blessed us so much. Look, the soil in North Tongu, there's nothing that from coconut to pepper to maize to cassava to bananas, which Musa Hamad Farm is producing, just name them. Everything does well. And even cattle rearing, yeah. Because Kwame Nkrumah had the cattle ranch established in the constituency. Now you just have remnants. The IDA is taking care of, you know, the little left. So we've become like spoiled children where, you know, after Nkrumah, we haven't really done much to, as it were, attain the commanding heights of our economy. And that's the kind of agenda some of us have, where we want to really empower our people. And so for you, your ideal agenda or your ideal vision for this country is empowering people. Absolutely. Would you like to talk on this continuity of government projects or government policies and how it's affected the country? What's your position on that? I mean, honestly, my position on what has clearly become a canker is that politicians who do that should be shunned. And even though in the Constitution, successive governments are enjoined to continue projects of their predecessors, it doesn't appear that there are any sanctions for governments that come and do not really comply with that. I think the time has come for us to, as it were, put in place in our legal regime more stringent provisions, and it should come with sanctions. I mean, how do you explain, for example, and it's at all levels, a DC comes to power and he wants to have his own projects, he wants to start afresh, when you can use about half of the money that you are using to start fresh projects to complete all the existing projects, existing schools, for example, you know, so that it doesn't matter whether it's shared credit. You have ministers of state who come and they want to have their own footprints, their own legacy, so they will not continue existing projects. I do not know the state of the E-blocks now. I mean, the last time we asked in Parliament what's happening to them, it was clear that the 124 we started, at least 50 completed. The rest, there's really no commitment. If those E-blocks had been completed, we wouldn't have double track on our heads. Double track is a clear result of the lack of planning and lack of provision for adequate infrastructure. That is why when free SHS was being promised, the promise didn't come with double track. Double track came during implementation when there were clearly, you know, implementation hitches, as a result of the fact that we didn't have adequate supply of, you know, dormitories, classroom blocks, laboratories, you know, computer labs and what have you. So how is it that in this situation, we cannot have a commitment to complete the E-blocks? Is it because somebody else will take credit? So some of us have been advocating that the pettiness in our politics is becoming too much. And I think that it's on all sides. So those who don't want credit to be shared, no, I started and finished. And then those who also probably will not give credit when you complete a project that you came to meet. As MP, I have completed a lot of projects that I came to meet because it's easier. Some of them 70%, 80%. You finish it. What matters is that the community is benefiting. The people are having value for money. Because what happens when you abandon these projects? By the time you return to them, you know, you have to do variations, and the cost will have gone up, sometimes threefold, fourfold. So the taxpayer is having to spend far more when the taxpayer can get, in terms of real value, about 3 or 4 of those projects if you had finished when it ought to have been completed. So it's a bane. It's really retarded our development, and I think that the time has come for the political class to rise above the pettiness.
Great.
And this will dovetail also into having a national plan. There's too much emphasis on manifestos.
Okay.
Party manifesto, NDC manifesto, MPP manifesto. Where is our national plan? I remember Vision 2020 that the Rawlings administration put together. The Kufuor administration came and it virtually, you know, jettisoned it, you know, put it aside. Then the Mahama administration, when we were in power, Professor Kwesi Boche, Dr. Nimoy Thompson, and the NDPC came up with a 50-year development plan. Where is that? The 50-year development plan, I had the senior minister, Yao Safumafo. I think I asked that question when I used to serve on the appointments committee before I resigned. He said that he doesn't believe in long-term plan. You have a 4-year mandate, just come and work on that mandate, fulfill your manifesto promises. And I cringed. I mean, we belong to the Africa Union. That has Agenda 2063. We belong to the United Nations. That has a long-term development plan for the world. Every 15 years, they come up with either the Millennium Development Goals or the Sustainable Development Goals. How is it that...
I'd like you to hold on your thoughts. We'll go for a quick break. When we come back, especially on that national agenda, over the weekend when Cabinet had that crunch meeting, I saw your tweet on what you expect, that consensus building, if there's a time to come together. I saw that tweet. So we'll talk about that. But we've been spending our morning with Honorable Okudzeto Ablakwa. Do stay, we're back shortly. To Prime Morning in a special edition. We're spending our morning with the Honorable Member of Parliament for North Tongu constituency. I like to call him the North Tongu darling because he seems to be loved by almost everybody in North Tongu. Welcome again and thank you for coming. So over the weekend, most of what's been topping the news is that crunch meeting that happened and the president's directive on what they say they can use to salvage the economic hardship in the country. After that crunch meeting, I saw your tweet and said that if there was a time to come together to build a way forward, will be now. What did you mean by that tweet?
As you do know, we are facing an economic crisis of monumental proportions. I do not recall the last time in our history as a nation where we face this level of difficulty. You have the currency on a free fall. Inflation has gone through the roof. Our reserves at the Bank of Ghana has dwindled. Our debt to GDP ratio is a scary 83%. We have long gone past the dreaded 60%. That's, I mean, it's like a long time ago we were scared of reaching 60%. We've gone past it. We are doing 83% now. Debt to GDP ratio. If you look at what interest payments and wages and compensation, you put those two items together and that's entire revenue. Even our revenue cannot take care of just those two items. Then you look at prices of goods and services skyrocketing. I mean, everything, including our favorite morning cocoa and kose, has all been affected. A lot of constituents send me messages that now, even with their favorite cocoa, which they could get for 50p, no longer possible. You must now have 1 Ghana cedis before you can get your favorite cocoa. You see the cost of even operating businesses. A lot of businesses are shutting down because they just cannot, you know, be able to survive, pay their workers, pay their bills, and then keep afloat. So there's a World Bank report which has assessed, a lot of businesses in Ghana, particularly during the COVID era, and they say that there's been massive layoffs. Not less than 300,000 workers have been laid off. And that World Bank report is available online. Now, you have cement prices, iron rods. It's just unhinged now in terms of the value, the prices. So everything is going through the roof. The only thing that is not going up currently is wages and salaries. So you wonder how the Ghanaian worker is surviving. Then you look at government's own obligations. Virtually every sector is in arrears. Government owes the District Assembly Common Fund for over a year. So it means development is not going on at the district. Government owes health insurance, colossal amounts. Government owes the National Buffer Stock Company. Government owes our secondary schools, so free SHS every now and then. CHAS will issue statements threatening that they will ask students to go back home. Government owes school feeding caterers. Government owes road contractors over 10 billion cedis. Government owes NAPCO workers, at least NAPCO workers in my constituency. The last time I interacted with, and you know that they have had to go on a series of demonstrations during the Christmas. I mean, I couldn't, just allow a situation where all of us are celebrating the birth of Christ, and then NAPCO workers in my constituency who at the time had not been paid for 7 months are abandoned. So I had to, put together parcels for them so they can also celebrate with some, some Momo, direct transfers that we did. So at least they can also, but for that, I wonder how the NAPCO workers in my constituency will have also been part of the Christmas celebrations. Then as we speak, for the first time, it's never happened in living memory, that national service personnel, how much do national service, that money virtually, it doesn't even last them for 2 weeks. Their transportation even to work doesn't.
599.
Less than 600 cities. And we can't pay them. 3 months. Arrears, some 4 months, some 5 months.
So they've actually denied that they owe 3 months. They've categorically said that they would pay January, they would pay in March, actually.
We are in March, and you are now paying. Yesterday, I saw a statement from NASPA that they've been informed that the government is paying for January. How about February? There are some who say that December, they are waiting for their... I mean, it's not right. We shouldn't have a situation where national service personnel, we must even pay them before we pay other public sector workers. They are the most vulnerable. So if I'm building up, please. So virtually every sector, government is not able to meet its obligations, its own promises. So if you come back to national service personnel, for example, you have a situation where these national service personnel who are contributing to the development of this economy, they are working in rural areas, teaching in schools, working in hospitals, the remotest parts where there's critical shortage of manpower. And this just stipends. We shouldn't have a situation where it goes into arrears. We should actually be increasing if you look at the current state of the economy. So that is why I had to, yesterday, you must have seen that I had to just donate on humanitarian grounds my 2 months' salary, at least, to help support the 87 personnel who were posted to my constituency. Now, you need to also juxtapose all of what is happening with the latest data on the population and housing census. The population and housing census is revealing that unemployment is at an all-time high, 13.4%. Between the age category 15 to 24 years, 32.8%. Underemployment is 50%. Those who are just, going by pretending to be working, they are master's holders, PhD holders who are even hiding it, so they can do a job for degree holders or WASI, leavers. See what happened on September 10th last year when the Youth Employment Agency was doing a job fair at the conference center. How the youth, job fair, no guarantee that you'll be employed, but they broke into the conference center, going through the glass, cutting themselves. They were bleeding. They didn't mind, So it's a precarious situation we find ourselves in. Every data, every indicator, from the fiscal to macroeconomic, everything is in a mess. So in this tweet that you refer to, I have been appealing to the political class because, you see, since the 2020 elections, we don't seem to have listened to Ghanaians and to have taken the lessons from the election. Whether we like it or not, Ghanaians are telling the two main parties, the NPP and NDC, to go work together. Whether we like it or not, Ghanaians voted for power sharing. This is the first time that you are having a hung parliament, 137. This is the first time that you are having the Speaker of Parliament who is not from the President's party. It's never happened. It's the first time. So what some of us expected was that immediately, right after the elections, leadership will come together. And I was expecting the President, because, you see, you are the father of the nation. You have been elected President. You must take the initiative. You must show that you really have this country at heart. You are the one who wants to, as it were, let everybody know that you are setting the tone. You want a conciliatory approach to national development. I was expecting that even going into the night of January 6th, the election of Speaker, it should not have been that rancorous. That if we had foresight, if we had deep love for country, and we cherish our democracy, and we were not still, in that winner-takes-all mindset, we should even have, behind the scenes, negotiated on how we even share the speakership. So it's a hung parliament. You clearly have a candidate for speaker. We also have a candidate. Okay, can we agree? We will take speaker, or you take speaker, we will take deputies, or we share the deputies. We could have had an arrangement. Nobody spoke to each other. I'm a senior member of the House. There was no talking to each other. So our colleagues on the other side felt that, we have 137, we have the advantage of an independent MP. So 138, it will go well. We will grab everything. It's still the same winner-takes-all mindset. We didn't learn lessons. Look at how we embarrassed ourselves that night. Things degenerated into a brawl. I mean, the military invaded the chamber. Imagine if anybody in that military detachment had just taken the speaker's podium and said that, look, let's see what the politicians are doing. We are taking over.
That would have
we
been
are curtailing. That would have been a coup. And at that time, remember that there was no president. The president had not been sworn in.
True.
Vice president had not been sworn in.
True.
Chief Justice was acting because of the chaos in the melee. He sped off. He left Parliament so quickly. So there was a real power vacuum. The soldiers could have just taken over. Up to now, who even authorized that invasion of Parliament? I mean, that desecration of parliamentary democracy, we do not know. So look at the degeneration on that night.
Have you been able to find out at least something on your, personally, or the minority?
Well, we called for a probe, and it's still, in the agenda for this meeting, where we want a committee set up to look into that. Most importantly, to forestall, a recurrence, so that these things never happen. Because this time, the soldiers didn't go as far as to just, take over and do a declaration of a coup. But you may not be lucky the next time this happens, because we all do not want a disruption of this democratic experiment. However, we must commit ourselves to really sustaining it and making sure that the democratic dividend, the people of Ghana, benefit from this democracy. So now look at the situation where January 6 midnight going into January 7, the mess, the chaos. One would have thought that lessons will have been learned. As you have seen, still lessons have not been learned. We were in Parliament on the 17th of November when the budget was read, and we had e-levy for the first time. This is the only country that those in authority come and announce a major policy, put it in the budget, are seeking approval, the votes of members of Parliament. When it doesn't, they realize they don't have the numbers, they run away from their own budget. They walked out, as you recall. Then they now say they are doing town hall meetings just to buy time to, get the numbers in the House. So we are playing the numbers game instead of doing genuine consultations, backroom channels of discussions in the national interest, where we subsume the partisan interest, the ego. I am not seeing that. So it's still the numbers game. And every now and then you hear our colleagues descend on the Honorable Adjo Asafo. Oh, Adjo Asafo is the cause of our woes. Adjo Asafo is the one who's messed us up. Just one MP. Then there's a section of them who are also now relying on the courts. So you see what is happening to our Asin North colleague. Yeah. They want to now use the courts to reduce the numbers.
Does it look like there'll be a by-election?
So you see, in that tweet, I was saying that, look, all these machinations, all of these shenanigans, all of these underhand dealings, just because we are playing the numbers game, can't we see that the Ghanaian people voted for power sharing? Can't we see that the Ghanaian people expect us to work together? Look, there are a lot of European jurisdictions who have seen this coalition governments. I mean, if you go to Denmark now, the ruling party, their MPs are not even up to 25%. But there's a government. They form a coalition. They are working together. Germany, same coalition government. They are horse trading, and they are forging ahead together. Why is it that in Ghana, leaders cannot just sit down? Look, we are in crisis. How do we come out of this crisis? Where is the Ghana rescue plan? We still don't have a plan that is red, gold, green. What we have is entrenched politicians following party manifestos, the agenda of their leaders. And you see, I must put the blame squarely at the doorstep of President Akufo-Addo, because you see, you are the president, you are the father of the nation. You must show leadership, take the initiative. Look at the United States of America. When President Biden was having difficulty with his big vision, the America Infrastructure Plan, even some of the extreme left in his party, Cortez, Bernie Sanders and others, he met with them, including the Republicans, invited all of them, the leadership of the Republican Party, to the White House to discuss their concerns, which aspects, and then how to amend so that it can be a win-win for everybody. And he was able to pass it. Got a good number of votes from the Republican side of the aisle. That is leadership. That is leadership, where you don't say that I have some one independent candidate majority. It's still the winner takes all mindset. We will do whatever we want. Look, all of these consultations going on. Yesterday, I saw the president meeting with the Council of State. Then they went for this retreat at Peduase. Have you heard them invite the opposition? At least when we faced some difficulty under President Mahama, it was not this, the economy was not this bad. But we clearly had challenges. President Mahama reached out to the opposition at the time to attend the Senchi meeting, what became known as the Senchi Consensus. Our colleagues rebuffed President Mahama and said they were not going to attend. I recall that it was only one of their members, Kwame Pieni, who said, look, I'm a statesman, I've risen above partisan politics. Even him, see what they did to him, what the young men did to him, called him names, lambasted him and all of that. So I am clear in my mind that, you see, this approach is such a reckless, such a divisive, such a destructive path. It will not help us. So you have the ruling party thinking that they have all the solutions. And it's all about machinations. How do we try and get the deputy speaker to vote? That's all they're thinking about. How do we get Ajasafo down? How do we make sure that we reduce their numbers through the courts? This approach, which is a very costly approach as well. See the last time, how much money was spent. And I tracked the movement of Ajasafo's private jet, for example. It cost us over 1 million Ghana cedis.
We're told it's a private person that paid for that.
Private person, where's the evidence of that? Who is that private person that loves the e-levy so much? This e-levy that every poll, including polls that your organization has done, more than 80% of Ghanaians, some of the polls 91%, 92% of Ghanaians are opposed to this e-levy. Who is that strange person who loves the e-levy so much and will spend so much money? Who is that person? Where did that person get that money from? What business does the person do? What are the person's tax records? In other jurisdictions, these legitimate questions will be asked. You don't just come and tell us, particularly when a member of your party is the one who revealed that all of those resources came from the chief of staff. 120,000 CD cash payment into the Honorable Ajasafo's Fidelity Bank account, and then they paying for this, chartered aircraft. They did not debunk it. They were all moving along with it and putting the blame on Ajasafo, telling their supporters how unfair the Honorable Ajasafo has been to their party. It was only when I did the tracking and put out the cost, and there was such a backlash. Ghanaians were so upset. Then they had to now, come up with this, belated explanation that it was a private person who sponsored it. So you see, we have opted to go for this costly path, bringing down people with expensive chartered jets. There was one of our colleagues who had just given birth, a 1-week-old mother left her baby in the United States of America, rushing down because of e-levy. And I'm saying that, what is wrong with us? Why can't we show maturity? Why can't we show love for country? Why can't we show, that compassion about the destiny, the future of this country, and get down from the high horses and just work together?
Do you think they're still on the high horse? Because if I pay attention to the directives that came from that crunch meeting, staying on the consultation, the opposition party has always been of the view that government should cut down expenditure, though you may not have been invited physically. Do you think that they're still on high horses? Because I've seen that they said tomorrow is a Thursday, the finance minister will be addressing the economy. Whether or not he's going to be in parliament, we don't know. But Thursday, actually, we're asking that, though you're not being invited, do you not think that they are at least taking cues from what you have said, especially when you track the president with the, private jets and all of that? Recently, when he traveled on commercial flights, and then you came, actually applauding him. Do you think that they really are still on the high horses with all these things that they are doing?
You see, so far, their inability to invite the opposition to the table. Oh, our NDC colleagues, come over, come to the Jubilee House. I'm not begging to have tea with the president. I don't think that I even want to be part of the delegation. But just the gesture, please come. We are consulting everybody. Invite others in the CPP, PNC, elsewhere. Invite the academia. Invite civil society organizations. I'm talking about a Ghana plan, which is broad-based, which is all-inclusive. So invite all the various sections. And then you can have, look, I've been reading very good inputs from Dr. Kwabena Dufour, Dr. Nimoy Thompson, Professor Kwesi Boche, Professor Jampo, Professor Citizen Kofi, the celebrated economist and statesman Kwame Pienim. They seem to have very, very fantastic views. All of these people are complaining that they can't even have access. They call the finance minister, they call the vice president, head of the economic management team, who has been missing on the economy for a long time. They're just not available. They will not pick their calls. They will not engage these people. So I'm calling for a broad-based approach where we put together a Ghana rescue plan. We know that the structure of this economy must change. We know that we must take some difficult decisions. How do we come together and do that? You say you are going to address the country tomorrow. Mm-hmm. Meanwhile, large sections of your society have not been consulted. You only went to hold a cabinet meeting in Peduasi. The very people, the same people, who have brought this economy to its knees, who have brought us into the ditch.
But Honorable, they say this economy challenge is global. It's not very peculiar to just Ghana.
Please.
We have global crisis.
Please.
You don't appreciate that at all in any form.
You see, this is what even annoys Ghanaians. You have a government that never takes responsibility for anything. Check their trajectory. First, it was President Mahama. They were blaming President Mahama. Then, when they started free SHS, everything free SHS, when you are discussing, oh, we don't have good roads we don't have good hospitals, oh, free SHS has taken all the money. When we started exposing that, look, free SHS is only 2 billion a year. You know, on the average, in a year, your revenue is more than 100 billion. Then, you remember they moved to take or pay agreements that had been signed in the energy sector. That is a cost. Then, fortunately, COVID happened. Then they started blaming COVID. You remember, everything was COVID. Oh, it's COVID, it's COVID. Then, after COVID, Putin gave this government a respite. He invaded Ukraine, and blame Putin, blame Russia. If Russia had not invaded Ukraine. So we are waiting for the next thing. Look, one excuse after the other. They never take responsibility. They never say that, look, this is the situation. Look, check the global data. Check the global statistics. Yes, COVID is a pandemic. What a pandemic means is that it's not an epidemic. It's not a disease in one community or one country. It's affected the entire. Yes, world oil prices are going up. But we all know that when you compare to other countries, because in our case, two issues. If you take fuel, the rising cost of fuel, which has broken the 8. Now nobody wants to hear break the 8, because apparently break the 8 stands for more hardship. It stands for pain and disaster. Says who? The NDC? Says the Ghanaian people. The Ghanaian people. So Ghanaians are saying that, oh, so this is what all this break the 8. That's what it's about. So because of my time. No. I was coming to the two issues. When you look at petrol prices or fuel prices in general, why in Ghana we have taken a big hit and we are suffering more than any other country is that, one, our currency has depreciated. Since January, the depreciation is more than 14%. Okay. Since January, just this year alone. Then we also have the second headache, taxes. If you look at the petroleum price buildup, this is the only country where even COVID, we use this as an opportunity to introduce a levy and slapped it on petroleum. So in our case, if we didn't have these high taxes, if we didn't have this massive depreciation of the currency, if our CD has not become, according to Bloomberg, one of the worst performing currencies in Africa. Look, you talk about global challenges, global difficulties. How is it that when Bloomberg, other international organizations, the World Bank, IMF, when they assess our economy, they say our currency is worst performing? You know, they say our debt to GDP ratio is one of the worst. We are on a debt unsustainable path. So it tells you that.
What about the BOG's position now? What they plan on doing?
So it tells you that our government must just take responsibility. You see, these global challenges, it only exposes the bad managers, the incompetent lots, the visionless, the clueless, those who didn't have the foresight, those who are not exhibiting great leadership.
Okay.
Look, our government is now talking about cutting expenditure.
Right.
Are you aware that there are many countries in this world, great leaders, who didn't wait for the money to finish, quarter, as we say in Ghana, before they announce expenditure cuts?
Do you think they should consider reshuffling?
Take New Zealand, for example. More than a year ago, New Zealand, their prime minister, announced 20% pay cut for herself and all the ministers and everybody. They took a pay cut.
I mean, better late than ever.
Rwanda reduced its defense budget by 62 million francs. Reduced its district level budget.
Called for it.
South Africa, a year ago, cut expenditure. In our case, we kept complaining about how the president was being wasteful. Take the chartered luxury jets matter, which I have been pursuing since May last year. I was treated with contempt. The president won't listen.
What's the status of that?
I mean, from May to February, are you aware that the Ghanaian taxpayer had to cough up 25 million Ghana cedis
to pay for that? To
pay for these presents. They say he wants to shower in the skies. That's what the defense minister came to tell us in Parliament. Okay, that the presidential jet, which is in good condition, which President Mahama used, what security? Bathing in the sky, is it security matter? Is it a security matter to bath in the skies? So, you see, 25 million cedis blown away. The budget to the Office of Government Machinery, only in Ghana, it increased. When all other countries, you were seeing cuts, responsible leaders were taking cuts. Ours increased from 2.5 billion in the 2021 budget to 3.1 billion.
Okay, so
the contingency vote
tomorrow,
the contingency vote increased from 186 million to 933 million.
Okay, so I mean, I don't know why they delayed, but I'm thinking that better late than never. Now that they've accepted to cut down, I hear the Council of State, they're going to be cutting down to 80% of their payment. But do you want the finance minister breaking it down in Parliament so he takes question, or you'd want him just addressing the country? What are the expectations of this breakdown? What's the minority expectation? Yeah. And please add whether or not, because she said that it exposed the incompetency management or managers. Do you think there should be a reshuffle too?
So first of all, I want to emphasize that whatever statement will be made tomorrow coming from PDRC, it's not all-inclusive, it's not all-encompassing, because they have not consulted widely. Okay. They have not involved the larger Ghanaian populace. And so I do not expect much. I don't have high expectations, because it's coming largely from the same people who've brought us to this mess. That PDRC meeting, cabinet, Dr. Mahmoud Baumia, economic management team, the so-called solid team, which has become a sordid team that has absolutely nothing to show for all the hype and the razzmatazz that they disturbed us with. So I do not have high expectations. That's number one, because you see, you can't get fresh ideas, great ideas, transformative ideas, a paradigm shift from the same people who are even living in denial, who don't want to take responsibility, who are blaming Putin, blaming COVID, blaming everybody else but themselves. If you don't take responsibility as an individual, as a person, then you will not even find solutions. If you keep blaming some witch in the village, blaming some ghosts, you will never. So I don't have high expectations. That's number one. That's number one. Then number two, the format of the presentation. I would have expected that the minister will come to Parliament and make a presentation that will allow for a full-blown debate, so that as a house, the people's representatives, because we have been holding town halls I did a town hall in my constituency on the e-levy after we even took a vote, a secret vote, on how I should proceed, what my mandate should be. It was 331. And this was non-partisan, chaired by the chiefs.
What does it mean, 331?
331 against e-levy. Only 4 supported the e-levy.
Okay.
So we've all been doing town halls, and we have clear message and directions from our people. So I am expecting that it will not be just coming to talk down on us and they walk away. I was expecting a format, and so far that's not what I'm hearing. I was expecting you come do a presentation in Parliament, and then you open it up. We have a full-blown debate where you can take, the salient contributions that members will make. So these are my 2 fundamental issues with how they are proceeding. 1, the lack of consultations, and 2, the format.
Okay.
Then let me come to the matter to do with
reshuffle.
With those who are still in charge. Yes. I hold a view, and I've said this earlier, indeed last week I emphasized this point, that we need new managers with fresh ideas. You cannot be expecting a different outcome from the same people who have driven us into the ditch.
Maybe they drove you so they know how to drive back.
They have proven that they just have no clue. And you see, what even strengthens my point is that the current managers of this economy, they are profiting from the mess. The Honorable Ken Ofori-Atta, companies he has interest in, data bank, all this debt accumulation, all the bonds, his company gets a fee.
Really?
Yes.
Tell us about it.
They get an arranger's fee. They get percentages from putting together these bonds. So as financial institutions that arrange these debts, they benefit directly.
If we
they
have
profit
evidence,
from it.
why aren't you taking actions?
The Minister of State, the Honorable Charles Edubon, also has a company that is benefiting directly.
Why is the opposition not taking action?
So we have raised this in Parliament. We even raised it during his vetting.
Okay.
And his excuse is, oh, he resigned from. But you see, you resigned, but you are still a shareholder. You are still a beneficial shareholder. You still have an interest, a clear interest. Elsewhere, this is conflict of interest. You will be in jail by now. In countries where they take conflict of interest seriously, you'll be in jail. So
we're not seeing people in jail. People have so much interest.
So whereas we are all complaining about the debt overhang, about how they just are borrowing and borrowing and borrowing instead of cutting expenditure. Substantial cuts in expenditure. It is to their personal benefit. The finance minister, Charles Edubon, they are benefiting directly from our woes, from our predicaments, from this debt overhang.
But why did
their companies are benefiting directly. Clear conflict of interest.
Okay, I really wish multimedia will have the evidence and that we can pursue. But why aren't you pursuing it after raising it? With so much evidence and so much passion, why aren't you pursuing? I saw how much you pursued the private jet matter. Why aren't you pursuing this one? And please add, because my time is almost up, please add why you resigned from the appointment committee.
So you know that we raised it at the appointments committee. His answers were, totally ridiculous. We're not happy with it. The Honorable Ricketts Hagan has filed an urgent question on this matter.
Okay.
It's taken forever for him to respond to it. I do also know that the Honorable Mahama Yariga has discussed with us the intention to file a motion for a probe into the conflict of interest of the finance minister and the minister of state. Clear conflict of interest. So there are actions underway. I admit that they've been a bit slow, but these are matters that we remain committed to, and we intend to pursue them to the hilt. We will make sure that the finance minister takes full responsibility and is sanctioned for what he has done. Indeed, there are some of our colleagues who have also proposed that we should initiate a vote of censure, following, and vote of censure is like an impeachment proceeding for ministers of state, following these revelations that we have about the clear conflict of interest. So be rest assured that in the coming days, you are going to see us take clear action.
Okay, what's next for you, Honorable? Unfortunately, my time is up.
But I expect the president to take responsibility. They should stop blaming everybody else apart from themselves. Now it's Putin who has become their favorite punching bag. They should take responsibility themselves. And the president should reshuffle his team. He should show the finance minister the door, Charles Edubuahin the door. The vice president, who's been such a fantastic failure, and I agree with President Mahama that now is the dollar that has arrested him, and we are looking for the IGP for the keys. Clearly, he should be asked to step aside. Because he's vice president, we can't reshuffle him, but he should step aside and let's get other, visionary and competent managers of the economy to chair the economic management team.
Honorable, my time is up, unfortunately. I want to take just 30 seconds. So you tell me what's next for you.
I'm going to be very active in North Tongu. I have some fantastic projects coming up. The cassava processing factory, which is going to produce cassava starch, and looking forward to employ about 2,000 young people in the constituency. There are other social interventions I'm looking at. You saw the vehicle we donated to the longest serving midwife, the ambulances that we distributed. So there's a very interesting one coming up for my teachers and nurses in the constituency. And when we are ready to do the launch,
you let me know.
I'll certainly let you know.
Definitely. Thank you so much for coming. And maybe let's do this again. Let's have this conversation, especially after tomorrow's breakdown when the finance minister really has addressed us. And if the opposition is happy about it, I wanted to talk about the position of the first deputy speaker. Deputy speaker is really voting. Interpretation of 102 and 104 and all of that.
And if you allow me 30 seconds, another matter I'm passionate about. And indeed, I have a question today for the transport minister. Is that fraud going on at the Kotoka International Airport by Frontiers Healthcare Services Limited?
Oh, we're told that that's going to be scrapped. They're no longer going to be paying for the test.
Has that been announced?
It's been in the news already.
Because they're just saying that they may, but they should scrap it. Look, Nigeria has announced yesterday they're no longer doing that. I've been traveling all over the place. When I went to visit our students who escaped Ukraine, Romania, went through Turkey, it was free. You don't pay anything. I arrived in Bucharest, Romania.
The public relations
you don't pay anything.
Anyway, Honorable.
So
thank you again. Let's have
so
a
that must end.
again.
That $50, $150 must end. Virtually every country has stopped it.
Thank you.
They should. And you see, they were not even transparent about it. They broke all the laws from procurement law, fees and charges.
We'll pick about
the Public Health Act.
Honorable, thank you. Thank you so much. It's been a good one. Thank you for joining us today. Let's do this tomorrow. My name is Emefa Kosiades. You have a good one.